The book I am going to review is How to Become a Candidate Master by Alex Dunne. This book is based on 50 games played by amateurs or club players in tournament against master level player or candidate master. The goal of the book is to give a player that maybe is 1800 a way to reach 2000, 2200. I will show the game from chapter 4, 1818 versus you. Practically the book is divided in 50 games with a rating for each game based on what was the player against probably Alex Dunne that was playing in tournament games. So the first one is a short game, but I believe it's interesting. e4, c5, c3. I notice some people don't know the name of the openings. This is the Sicilian Alapin variation. Okay? The Alapin Sicilian, white does not wish to give up his d-pawn for black's c-pawn. What is a good way for black to continue? And this book also shows you a lot of questions, ask you a lot of questions, ask you to analyze, and so I believe it's important for that. Obviously, d5 is a good move because it immediately attacks the center and fights for the center. However, the author also proposed this knight f6, giving the following continuation: e5, knight d5, d4, knight c6. And here he says, with the test, black seeks an immediate fight in the center, which means d5, the move that he played in the actual game. Which method is more likely to succeed against an 1800 player? That is not the question to ask. Which method best suits my style? That is the correct question. Find out the answer. So everybody of us needs to work on understanding who we are as chess player, okay? So e4, c5, c3, d5, e takes d5, queen takes d5, d4, knight f6. And here there is a very interesting way that the author has to explain and teach, because he says usual is knight c6, and this it now gives a variation which he will then ask explanation later, called analysis, for analysis 1. Okay, so it says knight c6, knight f3, bishop g4, bishop e2, c takes d4, c takes d4. And now he asks the question, and now 7 and 6, why not 7 bishop takes f3 to win the d-pawn? Black tries something new. He avoids trying to conquer d4, probably a wise choice, and seek flexibility. So this is the point, because in real tournament games we would go for this pawn d4, right? But probably is not correct. He doesn't give the answer inside the test. Now he will give it at the end of the game. So it's really simulating a game, and you need to find the answer. Okay? And finding the answer will make you a stronger player. So now let's return back in the initial position that we should have memorized or remember, right? e4, c5, c3, the Alapin, d5, e takes d5, queen takes d5, d4 because he also wants to open the lines and fight for the center. Okay, knight f6, and he told us that instead he should have played the usual knight c6. Let's go forward. 5, knight f3, e6. And here it's explained, in keeping with black's intention, note that 5 bishop g4 would renew the fight for d4. So instead of pawn e6, bishop g4. Okay? At a time when black is not ready for that fight. Instead e6, early kingside castling, simple chess and good. So obviously he reminds us that it's important in the opening to develop our pieces and go for castling, and that's what we should do. Okay, bishop d3, bishop e7, castle, castle, c4, queen d8, d takes c5, bishop takes c5, knight c3, knight c6, a3. Now there is an analysis too with a diagram, and that's the important part of having a book, because the author generally puts a diagram and is asking you a question, and that question will make you a better player. So he says, as a candidate master, how do you evaluate this position? What plan seems best? Why? Okay, so you see, these questions are very important because you will find yourself in a position like this in a tournament game. How do you decide which is the right plan? Here black made something that is dubious, a5. And the author says, although black normally would not advance a pawn on the queen side, where white has an advantage, here he believes it will slow down white's advance. General principle should be violated only by direct calculation. The gain in holding back the pawns for a few moves is lost in the quickness of the pawn exchanges occurring. Black might try 11 e5 or 11 rook e8. So he says that in this position was probably better to play e5 or rook e8. Okay? So that's the two moves that he gives. Instead he played this that is not so good. Bishop g5. Now the bishop must return back. Bishop c2, h6, bishop h4, and now black makes another dubious move, which is knight h5. Here it says, black has played a logical game to this point. He could keep his aim for a kingside attack by 14 e5. So the move to play was this instead. And here he gives a line to justify this move, okay? So the author is working it out and explaining you why. Instead, after knight h5, he continues with queen takes d8, bishop takes d8, bishop takes d8, rook takes d8, rook f d1, and now the last move of a game is bishop d7, and this becomes a draw. Okay? Draw, you might wonder about this position being agreed drawn. The answer, of course, is in that rating difference. Here almost 150 points. So practically black was 1950, 1960. White, being an 1800 player, is content to draw against his higher rated opponent. But you look at the white side of this position. Would you give a draw to someone rated almost 150 points below you if you were playing the white pieces? Unlikely. If you have a slight advantage against an equal player, you also won't concede the draw. The candidate master uses rating to escape from a slightly inferior position. It's done all the time. But if you want to improve, fight those positions out. If you deserve to be a candidate master, you have to be willing to try to win these positions against your equals. And here he gives a continuation. He says that white could have continued with rook d2, the only open file, bishop e8, rook a d1, rook takes d2, rook takes d2, rook d8, rook takes d8, and of course now there is knight takes d8, and here white is given two different moves, or king f1, trying to centralize the king in the ensuing endgame, or b4. Okay, and here it says the win is a long way off, but it is white who holds the advantage. Learning to exploit tangible advantages is a step toward rating improvement. Taking the draw in such a position is an admittance of being only an 1800 player. And this is the end. Notice that now there is here, I don't know if you can see it, analysis 1 and 2, which is the answer to the previous questions. I think this is a small game, but however, which hold a lot of content that one must digest and study. I hope you like it. Eventually, if you want more, I will make another video with the games from this book, because I believe that they are quite nice and real. Because this is not between grandmasters, this is between amateurs, club players, in real tournaments, and this is where 99% of the players are. So it's worth to have this kind of book. Alex Dunne, How to Become a Candidate Master. Alex Dunne was also giving teaching at the famous Atlanta chess camp. What's the name? Let's see here, because it was I was surprised, in fact, that he was doing that, and I think it's interesting. Let's see. Yes, so he said that the Castle Chess Camp held at Atlanta. This is a very important thing, because after Castle Chess Camp there is a very strong tournament. So it's nice that he was one of the instructors in that camp. And I hope everybody liked this game.